In this video, I will be adding and subtracting positive and negative fractions and multiplying and dividing with positive and negative fractions. So remember that we want to simplify all double signs. So this guy got punched in the eye, that's a negative. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 1/8 minus 2/3. Remember, you need a common denominator. I'm going to use 24. So it's going to be negative 3 over 24 minus 16 over 24. And then make sure you use a scoreboard when you're adding and subtracting. We have negative 3 over 24 and we have negative 16 over 24. When they're on the same side, we add and we get negative 19 over 24. Make sure that it's in simplest form. In this case, it is. All right, here I have negative 4/3 plus 3/4. We need a common denominator before we use a scoreboard. So I multiply this by 4, multiply this by 3, because my common denominator is going to be 12. So I have to multiply this by 4 and multiply this by 3. And I get negative 16 over 12 plus 9 over 12. I make a scoreboard. My negatives go on the negative side. My positives go on the positive side. And negatives win by 7/12. My answer is negative 7/12. Now here, again, before I use a scoreboard, I have to simplify double signs. So I have 1/3 plus 3/5. I need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply this by 5, multiply this by 3, so my common denominator will be 15. I'm going to do the same to my numerators, and I get 5 over 15 plus 9 over 15, which is 14 over 15, and that's all set. I can't simplify it, it's all set. Here, when there are mixed numbers, I'm going to make them into improper fractions. So I'm going to say 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8. So this is negative 8/3 minus 1 times 6 is 6 plus 1 is 7 over 6. Now I need a common denominator. I'm going to use 6, so I only need to change this denominator, and it's going to be negative 16 over 6 minus 7 over 6. I make a scoreboard. They're both negative. So I'm going to add them together, and I get negative 23 over 6. Now I'm not going to leave my answer as an improper fraction. I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 6 go into 23? It goes in 3 times, because 6 times 3 is 18. How much would be left over? 5 out of 6. So my answer is going to be negative 3 and 5/6. Now I'm going to move on to multiplying and dividing positive and negative fractions and mixed numbers. When you're multiplying and dividing and you see a mixed number, please make it into an improper fraction. So let's see, 1 times 5, that's 5, plus 2 is 7. So this is negative 7/5 times, that's 8 plus 1 is 9, negative 9/2. Check to see if you can cross simplify anything, and if you can't, then go ahead and multiply. A negative times negative is a positive, so this is 63 over 10, which is 6 3/10. Here, I'm always going to rewrite when I see division written like this. So I'm going to make this 7/12 divided by negative 3/8. Keep the first fraction the same. Change your division sign to multiplication and take the reciprocal of your second fraction. See if there's anything diagonal that you can simplify. I can divide both these numbers by 4. Then go ahead and multiply across. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. This is negative 14 over 9. This is an improper fraction. In order to make my answer, I'm going to turn into a mixed number. So this is negative 1 and 5/9. All right, and the last problem I'm going to do, when you get a problem that looks like this, please take care of the numerator first. So I'm going to take this numerator over here and I'm going to rewrite it. In order to combine these fractions, I'm going to need a common denominator. I'm going to use 10. So I get negative 6 over 10 plus 5 over 10, which is negative 1 over 10. So if I rewrite this, this is negative 1 over 10 divided by 1 over 10, which is negative 1 over 10 divided by 1 over 10. I keep my first fraction the same. I change my division sign to multiplication, and I take the reciprocal of my second fraction. I can simplify these by dividing by 10, and my final answer is -1. Okay, I know this is pretty fast, so please let me know if you have any questions and come see me for some extra help.